typical physical indicators that may come up that might think that maybe bruises or cuts might happen. And most common ones are on the head, the mouth area, the chin, the neck, well, more like the chin area, the head, the elbows and hands, knees, and the shin. Those are very common areas because they walk around, they hit themselves accidentally, it happened, it bruises. But when you have atypical injuries, that's shown right here on the right side, which is on the belly, the bottom, the forearm, chest, cheeks, eyes, neck, back, and genitals are abnormal. Please report those if you see that happen, or make a note of it and let us know that you have seen these. And it is important for both for you and the individual safety. And who do you call for when making an incident reporting? Please jot down these numbers because you will be calling these numbers if you believe, well, if you think you need, and it's after hours and you have to make a report, and this is where you make the report, and this is where you call to make the report. Is there any questions so far?
No.
Thank you.
No.
All right. Building relationship when you're going into these homes it's very important for you and the individual to build a small relationship. You can't just go in and work on straight on the goals right away. So what you do is you build a small relationship, you play a little, get to know them. Maybe they will eventually open up to you. So most of these kids are, some of them may be mute, they don't want to talk, you have to get to know them, they will engage in activities that they might want to do. So before starting all of those other interests for the individual, yes, you do have to consult with the parents, understand how the parents are working with the individual, but most of the time you are working with just the individual. There's common mistakes when building a relationship is when placing demands on an individual and requesting them to perform a task. So they would, how would I say it? Like you would get them to do something before they receive an award. And that's sometimes known as a common mistake because that's not really a good way to build that relationship between you and the individual. And you need to also provide a lot of interactions with the individual. Just because the individual has a lack of interaction, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be the one to talk to them, engage with them, talk to them, and get them motivated and communicative to you, even if it's small gestures, which these promptings, which my fellow other coworker will tell you more about. So I'll pass this on to my coworker, Bahia. Go more over about prompting.
Hi everyone, so I'm Bahia. I'm also field coordinator here at CARES. So to start us off, I just want to go over this one real quick to introduce you guys to what prompting is. So prompts are anything that you can use to help the individual respond to your instructions. In a way, they're just like easier cues or hints that you can use to help the individual achieve the certain situation you want them to. They can also be in a form of just additional instructions. So the point of prompts is to help increase the likelihood that the learner will make the correct responses. Of course, when a child is being taught something new, they're not always going to get it right the first time. So, prompting is a way to help them master the skill independently. Also, prompts just ensure that you will get the correct response from them and to prevent any future errors. So going into the types of prompts, the first prompt that you might use would be the physical prompt. And this is when you physically assist the child. This can be hand over hand, where you can, use your hands to guide them to the task. So in this example, the instructor is, helping this child wash their hands. So instead of saying, go wash your hands, she physically takes the child's hands over the sink to properly show them how to do it. And then the second type of prompt is modeling. So in this type of prompt, the instructor would demonstrate the response for the student that they want them to imitate. So for example, like if the instructor wants the kid to clap the hands, they would physically take their own hands and start clapping them so the child can imitate what is being shown to them and replicate the same task. And then we have gestural prompts. So in this type of prompt, the instructor would most likely just point at the response that they're trying to achieve from the child. So for example, if the instructor is asking the child, show me what the TV is, and the child is not really quite getting it, they can physically point to the TV, and then of course the child should understand what they are referring to. And then we have positional prompting. So for example, if the instructor wants the child to give them something, so for example, if they're like, hey, hand me over that orange, and the child isn't quite getting what the orange is, or what it is that the instructor wants, they might make the task a little bit easier by positioning the item a bit closer. So in this example, you can see that an instructor placed a red cup at the front and then the blue cup at the back, and then says, hey, show me the red cup. So of course, the child first sees the red cup, which should make it a little bit easier for them to choose the red cup over the blue cup. And then we have textual prompting. So with textual prompting, the instructor would physically write down a phrase or a word or sentence, whatever it is that they want the child to learn, and then have the child read it out loud or try to answer the question. So for this example, the instructor is teaching the child, Adam, how to write his name. So the child might not know how to write his name. So the instructor will write out all the letters and then have the child either write over them or try to spell them out, just so that the child can then memorize what it physically looks like. And then we have verbal prompting. So with verbal prompting, the instructor will verbally say the correct response that they want the child to answer. So in this example, the family member is greeting the individual, but then the child does not want to respond back and say hi. So, the parent or maybe the instructor themselves will physically verbally tell the child, hey, you have to say hi back. So then the child knows next time when they hear hi, they have to reply back with hello or hi. So with prompt fading, we want to focus on, limiting the amount of prompts used so that in the future, the child can achieve the goal with a systematically reduced level of prompting. So the goal, for example, will then later on be achieved with less prompts introduced. So of course, in order to do this, we have to fade from the most intrusive prompting to the least intrusive prompting. And then hopefully later on, you can, entirely remove all the prompts so that the child is able to respond and do things completely independently. So a function over here refers to the purpose or the reason for the behavior. So we always have to keep in mind, why a child is doing what they're doing, what might they be trying to achieve. So first of all, we do have to understand the behavior. And every function serves as a way of achieving a certain type of goal. So a child can behave a certain type of way because they are, in a way trying to show that they are demanding something or that they want something from the instructor. Of course, some of the reasons could be a medical reason, which of course is a bit more serious. So say the child's in pain and, they're displaying a certain type of behavior that isn't necessarily appropriate. Of course, if it's a medical, type of behavior, then of course you have to address that more seriously. But then again, a child can also act out because they just, want some attention, or because they want you to access something for them that they cannot, or sometimes, to avoid doing something. So if you're trying to teach them, of course, not all kids love to learn. So those who are less eager will probably try to, go play with toys instead, or try not to make eye contact with you. So that would be a display of avoidance. And then we have just an automatic reinforcement. So again, going back to the medical, so the behaviors are caused by medical need or condition. So in order to implement any type of behavior intervention, we have to first rule out if there is a medical reason. Like I said, it's very important to, address the issue as quickly as you can. But again, if it's something that's not necessarily, immediate, you can then just refer the child or their parents to a medical doctor who can help them later on address those concerns. And then the behavior that's displayed in order to, gain some attention would be, a little bit less, I guess, serious. But again, you do have to address this behavior as well, because you can't really get the child to learn or to do things properly if they're constantly, doing an attention-based behavior, which will, again, prevent you from achieving goals. So in this example, we have Billy, who walks into class, and then he's asked to speak to the teacher, but then she's helping another student, and she asks Billy to wait. Of course, the more appropriate thing to do for Billy would be to sit down and just wait for his turn. But, while the teacher's helping the other student, Billy hits himself in the head with his fist. So then the teacher immediately attends to Billy and prevents him from hitting himself again. Now, even though Billy got what he wanted, this was not appropriate at all. So we have to address the issue and make sure that Billy understands that this is not the only way to get what you want and the attention that you are trying to seek. And then for access, these are just the behaviors that aim to gain something out of the instructor or the DSP or even the parents. So again, we're using Billy as an example, and he's at Costco with his mom, and then he sees a box of Oreos. So of course, Billy puts the cookies in the shopping cart because he likes Oreos. But then his mom tells him just put them back, and then he starts to cry and push things all over the shelf. So the reason that Billy over here is displaying this negative behavior is because he is trying to access something that his mom does not want to give him. So in order to address an issue like this, you have to also, again, explain to the child that this is not the only way to achieve what you want, and there are more positive ways of acquiring something that you want. And then for avoidance, these would just be the behaviors that a child might display to avoid doing something, whether it's productive, educational, or even if you just want them to complete a certain task and they're not quite getting to it. So they might try to avoid it or put it off. So in this example, we have Jack, and his mom tells him to, clean up his room and just start getting ready for bed. But then Jack tells her that he doesn't want to go to bed and he'd rather just watch TV, but mom, and then he punches the wall, but mom, of course, needs him to turn off the TV. So then Jack's dad tells him that he can't watch TV anymore and he has to go straight to bed. So here, Jack is displaying the negative behavior because he's trying to avoid doing something. So in his case, it's going to bed. He does not want to go to bed early and he'd rather stay up and watch TV, which again is not the most ideal way to stay up.